Or you can say dzień dobry, it's easier, so.
Dzień dobry.
Dzień dobry.
Great, yes.
Nice to meet you. Me and Ella arranged school, Ayurveda school in Poland.
Oh.
And your book is really interesting for our students. And today we want talking about your book, and people give you question. First start Carolina, because somebody sent question. Karolinka, zaczniesz ty?
Dobra. Hello again, Sebastian.
Hi, Carolina.
The first question is a very difficult one. What inspired you to write the Ayurvedic medicine book?
Well, it was quite a long time ago now. 20 years ago, actually.
Wow.
So it was really, you know, I loved Ayurveda. I'd come across it and I'd started studying it at various small colleges in India. And of course, when you come across the texts and it's full of all this amazing information, but it's quite hard to navigate through the different, through Charaka, Sushruta, etc., to find out some of the nuances and details about the herbs. And so I wanted to draw this information together, was one of the reasons, so that it was an easy place to have everything to look up and learn. But also I've been influenced by the European and American so-called Western herbal tradition, and the focus there in terms of safety, drug-herb interactions, sustainability, some of these approaches I wanted to draw together and make them accessible to people. So in a way, it was trying to combine the best of both worlds, you know, because there's different bits of information in different Ayurvedic texts, and then some of the other Indian Ayurvedic doctors that I relied on for information about the energetics, for example, was to collate that together. So, yeah, a lot of it was just bringing together information that was elsewhere and having to make some decisions about what the priorities were. Other parts of it were having to go and do original research in a way regarding some of the sustainability, bringing that together, some of the drug-herb interactions, bringing that together in one place. And it was also a love of making formulas, that this desire to understand how the herbs work individually, to be able to create your own prescription so that you can individualize that to your client. So that was one of the desires, because that was potentially a bit harder to find out about, some of the safe dosage or dosage ranges. Of course, you can get all of that from a teacher, and you've studied for a long time in a college. But in Europe at the time, there weren't really a lot of colleges, and there weren't any books in English that were very easy to access with that breadth of knowledge. And so for some reason, I decided to take on the task. And I suppose back then I was really interested in research, and I was just so inspired by Ayurveda, really, and this depth of knowledge that was out there, and wanted to make it easy to access.
Edyto, czy teraz tłumaczymy to?
Fajnie by było. Jakbyś mogła chociaż
Dobra.
po części, to by było super.
Czyli dziewczyny, pytanie było, co zainspirowało pana Sebastiana do napisania książki. Jak słyszeliście, pan Sebastian napisał książkę jakieś 21 lat temu i był tutaj jego inspiracją było to, że było bardzo trudno znaleźć jedno źródło wszystkich ziół, formuł, które może zrobić dla indywidualnego pacjenta. Teraz wszyscy się uczymy właśnie w szkole Eli i Edyty, jak właśnie, jakie formuły można samemu wymyśleć, połączyć zioła, jak to zrobić, czy w formie soków, czy w formie zagęszczonych, czy w formie tabletek. To wszystko jest bardzo skomplikowane i właśnie to wszystko możemy znaleźć w tej książce, która jest tak naprawdę encyklopedią wielu ziół, opisanych z dawkami, z rekomendacjami z perspektywy zachodniej i też z perspektywy ziołolecznictwa zachodniego, bo mamy też łacińskie nazwy w tym wszystkim, więc też jest łatwiej to wszystko znaleźć. I też jeszcze bardzo ważna rzecz, tutaj Sebastian zawsze podkreśla, że te zioła mają pochodzić z dobrego miejsca, nie mają niszczyć ekosystemu, nie mają niszczyć lasów, jeżeli możemy, mają być ekologiczne. No i to wszystko.
Well, you've got a brilliant memory, Carolina.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Sorry, I should have said a shorter reply. We're going to translate, of course, but yeah.
I think we mostly understand. It's just fine, you know. Okay, the next question. Why are herbs so important in every person's life? Why are they worth using in everyday life?
Why are they so important? Because everybody in the world uses herbs all the time anyway. You know, that's just part of the food that we have. And, you know, this distinction between, food, medicine, poison, is a sort of continuum in a way, isn't it? And so we need to think of it like that. But essentially, herbs help our body do what it's trying to do anyway. And so they're a way of enhancing some of our natural physiological processes if they are, tired or deficient or overused, underdeveloped, or, when we face the natural external challenges that we do. And so they can help nudge us in the right direction. I think, herbs work in certain ways, and you can, there's a herbalist called Peter Conway in Canada, and he talks about how the herbs just nudge the body back into a balance. This idea that it's just putting us back into harmony is one way that they're very important. Of course, you can have a push as well, and herbs can push you in a certain direction. It's not just a nudge, it can be a push. Some of the stronger cleansing procedures, for example, are a certain push for the body. So yeah, I think help optimize, that's the main thing. And this ability to give you some control, some influence over your health as well, I think is important. If you understand how they work, the simple, kitchen pharmacy, I think we all love in Ayurveda, don't we? Because of the ability to get things from your spice cupboard. But it becomes very empowering that way, I think. So it's this way to optimize life, to give you some greater engagement and choice about your life. And plants are essential for life anyway. We all of life depends on them, but herbs specifically are a way to adjust your health naturally and can play a very crucial part in preventative medicine as well. This crucial part of daily practice. So those three things really.
Czyli pytanie było, dlaczego zioła są tak istotne w życiu każdego człowieka i dlaczego warto je stosować codziennie. No i to było odpowiedź była podzielona na trzy elementy. Pierwsze, że oczywiście, że rośliny są podstawą życia i że musimy je jeść i musimy dbać o nie i dają nam optymizację. Też rośliny mogą nas w pewnym kierunku tutaj popchnąć, jeżeli na przykład nie mamy balansu w naszym systemie, pomagają nam w optymizacji naszego systemu. No i dają nam tą energię do życia, która jest nam potrzebna, czyli jest bardzo ważne właśnie zrozumienie, jak te dane zioła funkcjonują, tak jak właśnie Ajurweda nas tego uczy, i zastosowanie właśnie dla nas albo dla naszych pacjentów.
Ja dodam, bo też powiedział taką ciekawą rzecz Karolina na temat, że zioła dają takie push, czyli takie jakby też popchnięcie i że to jest widać przy panczakarmie, tak? Że one mają też takie, to co powiedziałaś, takie łagodzące odżywiające, odbudowujące działanie, ale też mogą mieć intensywniejsze działanie, chociażby w tym momencie, kiedy stosujemy je przy oczyszczaniu, przy panczekarbie. To też ja myślę, że jest ciekawe.
Oczywiście, tak. Mogą też nas w
Tak,
złą stronę
tak,
pociągnąć.
dodać energii, nie tylko zrównoważyć, tak
Zauważyć.
zbalansować, ale też są czymś takim jakby, no,
Tak.
nie wiem jak to dobrze powiedzieć, takim no, pchnięciem energetycznym, o.
Tak. Okay. Why is it important to promote ecological plantations and how do they differ from the standard ones?
You know, I think at the heart of it, as anyone using Ayurvedic herbs as part of their profession and their well-being, the whole intent of that is to heal and make whole. And it would be a terrible shame to try and make oneself whole, but at the same time making the world less whole and less healed. So I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that the herbs aren't just grown ecologically, but also fairly, and that the people collecting them or people growing them are also cared for properly. I think that would be an extension of the intention to, you know, do no harm along the way, or minimal harm, you know, depending on what is realistic and one's interpretation of that. So, you know, I think there is something like 300,000 flowering plants, and about 30,000 of those are used in food and medicines. And then about 3,000 of those are traded around the world. And so Ayurveda, it's all just threes, uses about maybe 300 herbs. There's probably more, I think there's like 600 or so herbs used in Ayurveda, maybe 1,000 or so. But there is probably in the main usage is about 300. And that puts a lot of pressure on those species. So if you think about the volume of ashwagandha, we were talking about shatavari, triphala, guggul especially, you can see that the use of these herbs has caused some of those plants to be diminished. Like ginger actually was one of the first herbs to go endangered in the wild, because
Wow.
thousands of years ago, because we cultivate now it's only cultivated really. You could get wild ginger species, but herbs like guggul, kutki, jatamamsi, kushta, atis, etc., all these Himalayan, well, not guggul, but the other Himalayan varieties, you know, on the endangered plant list, CITES. And we really need to be aware, like we are with our food, where our food comes from and our clothes come from. We want to know that the people growing that food and how it's grown is looking after the environment, and it's the same with the herbs. I've got a long list of reasons to this answer. You know, I don't know if you can take notes.
Yeah.
But also, I think members of the public expect it as well. You know, if I go and see an Ayurvedic doctor, I expect them to know that the plants they're using have also been good for the world, not just the treatment he's going to or she's going to give me, that they're going to give me. You know, it's incumbent on that. Also, for the future, we won't have the plants in the future. You know, we know quite a few plants have gone extinct already before we got into practice, you know, so we won't be able to practice. And it could be at a time when there's even more need for natural medicine. And it's also a good way, I think, to redistribute value. So when to ensure farmers and collectors get paid a correct amount, you know, they're paying attention to the quality. When they are sustainably grown and ecologically grown, they tend to be more expensive, but it is a way of redistributing wealth directly back to those growers and collectors that are doing it responsibly. So that makes it an attractive option for more like their neighbors, for example, to follow the practice. Yeah. So at Pucker, you know, I set Pucker Herbs up, whatever, 20 odd years ago. And I got direct experience of setting up a small organic project. The local neighbors see that it's going well. They all want to join in, you know, so that mushroom effect, mycelial effect, that enhancement, this idea of, you know, like increasing like in Ayurveda, you know, that if you add something good in, you can get more good out of it, sort of thing. So
And you have, excuse me, you have really seen the effect in the small farms in India that once you started working with them, the neighbors also joined in?
I mean, not every time, but in certain areas, definitely, 100%. You know, if you know, they might needed our support, I don't know, with getting some seed or to cover the organic certification or whatever, but definitely, people, it becomes infectious, basically, a bit like, and then when, you know, you study Ayurveda, your friends hear about it, they probably all want to come and learn a bit more. You know, it becomes like knock on, you start to love the thing.
Sure. Yes, because me and Edita, we are working for the last 20 years with Jiva Ayurveda. And I also know that they put a lot of care that all the herbs are collected, stored from ecological plantation, you know, like, and also I know from Dr. Chauhan, with whom we are working, that there are some herbs which you have to have a certificate that were growing, not pick up in the nature, because practically they are not growing in the nature anymore. So first to preserve the herbs which are still growing in the nature, but have them from the ecological plantation to preserve the herbs which are still growing. So I know in many Ayurvedic companies in India, it's very important, and they really start to take care of it.
Definitely, I think Ayush, the whole ecological awareness in India about the value of the plants has really improved. But I would say that it's a long way off acceptable.
Yeah.
My experience, you know, I'm just a single person, but I've spent a long time there. My experience is, as a community, we're a long way off the standard we would expect from ourselves, I think. And that's a hard thing to do because we're a small group of individual practitioners working in a bigger field. But I think there is a lot to do, not just in terms of the ecological protection, but, you know, most herbs in India come out of the wild. So, you know, very few herbs in India are really checked that come from the wild in terms of a whole supply chain validation. And there only are a couple of global standards. You know, one is this Fair Wild standard, and which is a standard set up by the WWF and some other charities to really ensure that the collectors are paid fairly and that the whole environment where the herbs come from. But it's a work in progress. No one does it perfectly. You know.
There is also one person who is in Poland. He also studied with us in our school, in mine and Edita school, and he buys from Auraville, from South India, and they really take good care of the. There is, as you said, there's a fair payment, and also they are collected and grow, or you know, like how to say, ecologically. I don't know if it's a right word.
Yes.
I know there are places like this in India. Maybe they're not in majority, but they are, you know, they are
there. Totally.
There. Yes.
India grows some of the largest amount of organic food in the world. No, they're totally there. I mean, there's brilliant projects going on. I'm just saying that.
But I also know there are companies who are cheating, and you know, they put, you know, like sweet potatoes instead of amlas. So there are companies like this as well in India. So I know there exists, but it's everywhere.
It's around the world. I think it's everywhere. I don't think it's just everywhere. And it's just the message is really, as practitioners, for us to know where our herbs come from, to know how they've been tested for pesticides and heavy metals, but also how they've been tested for their active ingredients, their marker compounds. So they're the broad things as well as their social impact. And I think it's a part of education that is perhaps not shared as much, or we're learning as a community. And there's a group in the UK called the Herbal Alliance, and they have got like a training in sustainability for herbalists and practitioners, which anyone is interested could join in. And I just think there's a lot to learn in all areas, isn't there?
Yes.
And that is one of the areas I think we've got to be concerned about, because there are safety issues with liver toxicity. That, you know, Ayurveda is getting under the scrutiny and attacked from all sorts of angles.
Yes, that's true.
And criticized, you know, rightly so in lots of cases as well. And so I think it's out of our, you know, our love and care for Ayurveda that we have a chance to sort of raise the bar.
Okay, maybe I will just translate what we were talking about. I will just translate into Polish. Słuchajcie, bo tutaj zaczęliśmy rozmowę, właśnie Sebastian powiedział na temat, jak ważne jest, żeby te zioła, z których stosujemy w Ajurwedzie, były z ekologicznych źródeł i żeby nie tylko, żeby one były z ekologicznych źródeł, ale żeby one również były uprawiany tak zwany ten fair trade, żeby te osoby, które po prostu uprawiają i pracują na polach, czy tam, gdzie te zioła się uprawia, żeby one były w odpowiedni sposób traktowane i żeby one też po prostu dostawały odpowiednią zapłatę za swoją pracę, tak, że jakby to wszystko w ajurwedzie jest ważne i też on mówi, że dlaczego to jest ważne, że to jest też ważne dlatego, bo ajurwedę się bardzo atakuje, czyli w naszym interesie jako praktyków ajurwedy jest, żeby wiedzieć, skąd te zioła podchodzą, w jaki sposób one zostały uprawiane, czy te osoby, które uprawiały te zioła, zbierały i to wszystko przy tych suplementach robiły, były we właściwy sposób traktowane i wynagradzane, bo tak jak wiemy, że właśnie jest wiele ataków na ajurwedę, więc to jest zarówno w interesie naszych pacjentów, ale też w interesie nas jako praktyków ajurwedy, żeby po prostu wiedzieć i mieć taką świadomość. Ja też powiedziałam, że jeden z naszych konsultantów ma taką stronę Mama Ajurweda i on właśnie sprowadza z takich czystych, ekologicznych źródeł i gdzie właśnie jest też ten fair trade, jeśli chodzi o uprawę, zbieranie ziół. Okej.
I jeszcze jedną rzecz chciałam tutaj dodać do Eli, że tutaj właśnie mówimy o tym big picture, a w tym mniejszym, w indywidualnym picture to jest właśnie bardzo ważne. Jeżeli chcemy, żeby nasz pacjent był zdrowy, to chcemy też, żeby planeta była zdrowa i chcemy też, żeby te rośliny i zioła, które dajemy, były pozytywnie afektowały nie tylko nas, ale też planetę. Czyli mówimy i o mikroskali i też o makroskali.
Tak, i też powiedział, że w Wielkiej Brytanii jest takie stowarzyszenie osób, które właśnie zajmuje się tą czystością tą ziół, nie zapamiętam jak ono się nazywa, ale
Herbal
że jest
Alliance.
Herbal Alliance, tak, którzy po prostu się zajmują jakby badaniem i sprawdzaniem, żeby te zioła rzeczywiście były jak najlepszej jakości.
And I've got a website called Herbal Reality that I run with a few other specialist practitioners. And if you look at that, there's lots of information about sustainability
Herbal
there.
Reality, yes? Herbal Reality.
There's the next one is called Herbal Reality.
Okay.
There's lots of information on it there, really. But I mean, as you're in Poland, you know, it's got so many beautiful plants growing in Poland.
Yes,
I mean,
we do. That's true. Yes, we do.
And
we do.
I think that was, it was always been taught from Ayurveda to, take the principles, but apply it where you live in the world.
Yes.
There are many plants, obviously, some things you can't replace from the Ayurvedic material, but lots of plants you can get in Europe that could be very useful and accessible to your clients as well.
Yes.
That can be a way of mixing in just a little bit. Maybe it's just with herbal tea and tisanes that you have for your clients that taste nicer, and then you've got your hardcore churno and your quat and decoction for the treatment. But that way, there's a need to make it accessible, really, isn't there?
In Poland, we are really lucky because we do, and this treating with herbs, it was very popular for hundreds of years in Poland. So we have many home remedies, for stomach pain, for cold, for cough. And so I think now our consultants, they use the knowledge of our traditional medicine plus then with Ayurveda, and that's the beauty of it. Yes. I też właśnie Sebastian mówi, że u nas w Polsce mamy też dużo wspaniałych ziół i też możemy z nich korzystać. Ja mówię, że wielu naszych konsultantów i sami tak robimy, że bierzemy przepis babci na ból żołądka, ale też korzystamy z przepisów ajurwedyjskich.
Dobra, to teraz pytania od wszystkich.
Czy ktoś ma pytanie?
Na pewno. Ela, ty pierwsza.
Ja. Ja mam, yes, because if I can ask you a question, what is your opinion of using the mushrooms in Ayurvedic? Because I know in Veda there is a saying that every plant can be a medicine, but mushrooms are more like a tamasic thing. And I mean, so my question is, I know we can use everything in Ayurveda as a medicine, but I would like to know what is your personal opinion on that?
I think that it's all about, who's using how much of
and
what.
How much is using and for what?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a natural cultural aversion to mushrooms in some cultures because there are many potentially poison species, not many, but there are some. And I think there's perhaps a bit of a cultural thing in India that they grow on decaying and dying wood.
Yeah.
And that is perhaps not all, although maybe all food does it to some degree, but I wonder whether that's how it arose. but I think if you're talking about what Coriolis mushroom, chaga, lion's mane, all of these, reishi, then I think they're fine. I mean, they grow in India, you know, chaga, reishi, it all grows over the Himalayas, you know, cordyceps, all these, so they're
Yes,
all
because
there.
they become now so popular in Poland, you know, like
I know.
yes, you know, like 10 or 15 years ago, you know, there are many herbs in Poland to choose from, and you don't, but I'm not denying that they have medical property. It's just I never use them, so I was just curious what.
Oh no, I think the research on some of
in
the
Chinese medicine, people they use mushrooms and with a great success. So,
but also the modern
I think
Chinese
they're
medicine.
not so much in common.
Chinese medicine, but also the research behind them is really robust in terms of treating certain, you know, immunological, viral, you know, pathological, you know, cancers, etc. So it does seem that there'd be a relevant part of one's pharmacy. You know, working out the energetics is always a bit of a tricky one from the Ayurvedic point of view, but I think of them as used for specific treatments. You know, I would use mushrooms if someone has got, I don't know, neurological degeneration or serious, you know, advanced degenerative disease or something like that. But generally in the diet, I think a few mushrooms in the diet are okay. And this idea of food being tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic, I'm not sure that is a linear continuation of the Ayurvedic text. I think sattva, rajas, and tamas.
No, because on some, you know, like being a bhakti, you know, like myself, we don't eat mushrooms. But I'm not denying the medical property of mushrooms. And I know that some people use mushrooms for the mental problems, and it really works. And I know it really works. So that was my...
This idea of food being sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic, I don't think is actually accurate. And do you know Todd Caldecott? He's written a really great article, and he's an amazing Ayurvedic, an amazing herbal healer. You know, he sort of really illuminated me about this. That you know, those are more qualities referring to a state of consciousness, and in the material realm, in the realm of prakriti, the foods don't have such a literal rajasic, tamasic, sattvic effect. Of course, they can feel heavy or they can feel light, and you've got the gunas and the qualities, and of course that builds up a pattern and a pathology. So that feels more relevant to me. And so mushrooms, you know, you might say have got that sort of more dampness and some of that sort of feeling about them, don't they? And that fungal activity, not everyone digests them that well. So always be cautious. But I think the medicinal mushrooms are fine to use in a small dose.
Ja zadam, słuchajcie, pytanie na temat grzybów, bo mnie to akurat interesuje, bo teraz one są coraz bardziej częściej używane po prostu w leczeniu i jakby w ajurwedzie, no te grzyby troszkę tak są, no ja akurat nie jem grzybów, ale one są jakby tak, no uważam, że są tamasowe, ale co innego jest lek, a co innego jest jedzenie, ale też Sebastian mówi, że z jego perspektywy, że nie zrozumiałem jaki tekst czytał, że jakby ten podział rajasowy, satwiczny i tamasowy nie bardzo się odnosi do jedzenia, że oczywiście grzyby są ciężkostrawne, ale mnie bardziej interesowało właśnie jego zdanie na temat tych leczniczych właściwości grzybów. Okej, teraz żebym nie tylko ja, słuchajcie, ktoś ma jakieś pytanie dotyczące warzyw morskich.
To ja mam...
No.
Tak, mogę? To ja mam pytanie dotyczące właśnie alg jako warzyw morskich, bo domyślam się, że w tej chwili może ich nie być w diecie w Indiach z uwagi na to zanieczyszczenie wybrzeża. Natomiast czy ich nigdy nie było w diecie, czy one nigdy nie były nigdzie zapisane? Dlatego, że ja rzeczywiście się z tym nie zetknęłam, a jest to zastanawiające, dlatego że jednak uznaje, nawet makrobiotyka uznaje je za coś bardzo pozytywnego dla nas, za coś bardzo zdrowego. My w 75% składamy się z wody. To są rzeczy, które są jakby z nami takie kompatybilne. Podnosi się wiele gatunków alg do rangi wręcz suplementów. I rzeczywiście widać wyraźnie, że w diecie wielu osób one się doskonale sprawdzają. I czy on gdzieś natknął się na jakieś rzeczy na ten temat, bądź ma swoje zdanie w tym względzie?
Okej.
Mieliśmy
mam się,
tłumaczkę, mieliśmy, tak, Edytko?
mam się zapytać ja, czy powiesz, Karolina? Mam ja powiedzieć?
Mieliśmy jakąś panią tłumaczkę dzisiaj mieć do tych pytań.
Nie, to ja już. Yes, there is a question about seaweeds. Tak dobrze powiedziałam? Seaweed.
Tak, dobrze, algi.
Algae, about seaweeds. If there is any mention about seaweeds in Ayurvedic text, and personally, what do you think about using? Because they are also heavily used in macrobiotic and in other natural medicines.
Interesting.
Yes. What is your opinion? And if you come across in any text like Ayurvedic texts about this,
Interesting question. I haven't come across anything actually. I'm just racking my brain. Nothing coming to mind specifically with seaweeds. Interesting. But
because there is a lot of sea around India, so the question, yes, but I don't think there is a
sort of
mention.
obvious question,
Yes.
but I haven't thought of it. Or what the answer is to that. So I don't know, but I've not seen it anywhere ever in a market or anything like that, or in cooking. But regardless of that, it is obviously part of many cultures' diets and our Western diet. I think they're great seaweeds to eat. Of course, they're very salty, and so you have to pay attention to that.
Yes.
Also, they are notorious for absorbing heavy metals, because the sea obviously is the rubbish ground of our lifestyles, and so you have to be careful that it's clean seaweed per se, but I think, and that it's sustainably harvested. No, I think it's used a lot for dissolving lumps and part of cleansing programs. I think it's very good. I mean, macrobiotic diet, right? Yeah.
But in Ayurveda, in ancient texts or in any Ayurvedic text, I don't think there is a mention of seaweeds. Did you come across
I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of it.
No. Bożenko, tutaj właśnie Sebastian mówi, że on nie spotkał się w tekstach ajurwedyjskich, żeby było wspomniane o algach, ale też mówi, że oczywiście one są używane, trzeba pamiętać o tym, że mają bardzo ten słony smak i że one mają tą tendencję do wchłaniania metali ciężkich, więc jeżeli się stosuje algi, to trzeba jakby być pewnym, że one są z dobrego źródła, no ale wiemy, że mają doskonałe właściwości i działanie medyczne, także. Ale nie spotkał się nigdzie w tekstach ajurwedyjskich, żeby było wspomniane właśnie na temat alg.
Okej, dziękuję bardzo.
Jeszcze jedno pytanko, kochani.
Ktoś ma jeszcze jakieś pytanie?
Tak, jest dużo pytań, ja mam dużo pytań.
Super.
Kasia, powolutku.
Dobra. Zacznę od takiego, myślę, że interesującego pytania, nie wiem czy dla Was, ale o kawę. Wielu moich pacjentów nie wyobraża sobie dnia bez kawy i ja nie chciałabym im zabraniać tego albo mówić bezwzględnie jednoznacznie, że kawa jest zawsze zła. Chciałabym zapytać, czy Pan Sebastian ma jakąś może swoją sekretną formułę na to, żeby do takiej gotowanej kawy dodawać różne przyprawy i żeby ona była bardziej zrównoważona, czy bardziej po prostu zdrowsza dla nas. Ewentualnie w każdej doszy, jaki ma różnicę.
Sebastian, there is one tricky question about coffee. Because Kasia is saying that she has many patients who love to drink coffee. They cannot imagine to start a day without the coffee. And if there is any magic formula or any great herb which can be added to the coffee to make it less how to say in favor to us, and what do you think about it, the coffee, and is there any way using some Ayurvedic spices to make it less like you shouldn't say just heating in nature or,
I mean, it's a great herb. Coffee is a fantastic plant and herb. So
I totally agree with you.
I don't know. It only is if it doesn't suit someone. I think it's a good thing to have in the morning in a way. Energetically, from an Ayurveda point of view, you could say that kapha time of day, sluggish, bit damp. coffee can be stimulating and activating, but obviously it can become too stimulating for some people, and people don't like feeling addicted to it as well, some people, and it obviously upsets your sleep. I mean, it's got a half-life, you know, of 12 hours. So if you have a cup of coffee at midday, you've still got 50% of that caffeine in your system at midnight. So you have to be careful if you're a Vata person drinking too much coffee. Or Pitta can get aggravated around certain times. If people want to come off coffee, you can buy decaffeinated. That is one thing. That is a way of doing it. So you can get decaffeinated coffee and drink that. And there are healthy ways of decaffeinating coffee. As a replacement, though, there's only a few choices where I'd go with people. I either get them to make a spicy chai in the morning, because that's rich and nourishing, and often people that drink coffee want that sort of body. But making a fresh ginger, depending on their constitution, maybe with some cinnamon as well. You could always do a warmer milk as well in the morning if someone wants that richer hit. But I would normally try and move people towards some type of green tea as well, if they are struggling with the coffee, but they don't mind having a bit of caffeine. So sort of few options there.
Okay, so I will translate what you said, because then I will forget, okay? I will just do the translation. Kasiu, przede wszystkim ku mojej ogromnej radości możemy powiedzieć, że kawa jest wspaniałą rośliną. I tak jak on powiedział, że kawa po prostu daje nam po prostu energię rano. Jeżeli ktoś tej energii rano potrzebuje, no to tą jedną kawę może się napić, ewentualnie później jedną po południu, ale trzeba pamiętać, że kawa może powodować problemy ze snem i że kawa też podnosi pitę, że jeżeli ktoś nie chce pić kawy, no to po prostu może też napić się kawy takiej bez kofeiny, może też sobie zrobić rano czaj, tak, mocniejszy czaj, albo może się też napić, przejść na zieloną herbatę, albo napić się po prostu też wody z takiej herbaty imbirowo-cynamonowej. Okej. I don't know, Kasiu, jesteś?
Jestem.
Tak, no dobrze, tak? To była odpowiedź
Dziękuję
na twoje...
bardzo. Dziękuję bardzo. Mam jeszcze 2 pytania. Mogę zadać?
No to tak, zadaj. Najpierw jedno. No.
Mam pytanie o to, jak hodować zioła. Czy jest to może opisane w książce? Wiem, że to księżyc daje leczniczą moc ziołom, jak one rosną. I czy na przykład jest ważne, jak mamy dom, w której części, czy od strony północnej, czy od strony wschodniej, tak? Mógłby tutaj.
Ale chodzi ci w domu w sensie nie, że w ogrodzie, tylko mieszkam w mieszkaniu,
ogrodzie.
Mam. Sebastian, there is a question from Kasia about growing the herb in your own garden. And if there is any particular way to do it, let's say you have a house and you have a small garden and you would like to grow some herbs for your own use. And we know that the moon has a lot of influence for potency of herbs. And so do you have like some advices for people who would like to do it, not to sell, but to grow for themselves?
I think it's a beautiful, very important thing to do, practicing Ayurveda, to grow herbs. You get a real affinity for their character and their nature. I would recommend just getting, choosing some of the species that you're interested in growing, and then you might need a greenhouse or something. Us Northern European climates might need, for herbs like ashwagandha or shatavari or andrographis. Tulsi you can grow outside pretty well. Over here, gotu-kola. I've got a seed project in the UK. We grow seeds, so called Earth Song seeds, and we grow a range of about 70 different herbs. So choose some of the ones you want to use in your practice, and just like growing vegetables, really, make some nice beds, germinate them, and cultivate them that way. Some of the higher altitude Himalayan endangered species actually do really well in Northern Europe. And Tamumsi, Kushta, Kutki, Tagara in my garden in the UK. So they all grow really well.
But is it important, like you do it on the, let's say, south or north or?
Oh, I see. Yeah, definitely. You have to get the right, a plant is like a person, they need to be in the right environment. To grow a good person, they need to be well nourished, well watered, well loved and cared for. The same as a plant. They have to be in the right environment for them to thrive. But this lunar calendar, I don't know a lot about that. I'm not it's interesting, but I don't think it matters too much. It maybe could enhance things, but biodynamic, obviously is a great system, but I think just growing them with love and care, putting them in the right environment, they'll work their magic. They know what to do. Their intelligence will work with nature.
Yes, and so I will translate in the moment the answer, but I have one question to you. Maybe you have, because I have my own garden and I was trying to grow tulsi and some other herbs, but in Poland we have the plague of snails, and the snails, they eat all my plants. And I am not using any chemicals to get rid of them. First of all, because I have dogs also in my garden, and I use the ash from my fireplace. And do you know any other method, like you can put around the plant so the snail won't eat your favorite herb?
Well, first of all, you've got to make sure your garden's really tidy and there's no bits of wood and any old thing. The snails love that. People say coffee grounds, eggshells.
Yeah, I try coffee, doesn't work. I try coffee and it's, yes, I have such a beautiful, I know this.
You can get these copper sulfate pellets. Which you can get some other ones with iron in, that are not toxic to any other animals, but just to slugs and snails. If you're happy, it does.
Yes,
I have an idea, Elżbieta. Yes.
Ja już przetłumaczę, Kasiu, odpowiedź, przepraszam, zadałam pytanie dotyczące, Kasiu, już przepraszam Cię, ale to też jest ważne, bo jak będziesz uprawiała zioła, to niestety w Polsce jest plaga ślimaków, które zjedzą wszystko i ja też posadziłam i bazylię, inne zioła i po prostu ślimaki zjadły absolutnie wszystko. I też co zrobić, żeby chemicznych środków po prostu nie stosować do tej uprawy, no bo też właśnie to, co Sebastian powiedział, że bardzo dobrze jest, jeżeli ta osoba, która praktykuje ajurwedę, ma swoje zioła, uprawia swoje zioła i też powiedział, że trzeba pamiętać, że zioło jest jak człowiek, że roślina jest jak osoba, ona ma swoją osobowość i tak jak dziecko potrzebuje dobrych warunków w domu do tego, żeby się prawidłowo rozwijało i żeby się dobrze rozwijało, tak samo jest z każdą rośliną, że ona po prostu potrzebuje sprzyjających i dobrych warunków i też powiedział, że on nie jest ekspertem od kalendarza księżycowego, więc tutaj Ci na ten temat nie może powiedzieć, że w naszym klimacie bardzo dobrze też uprawiają się, słuchajcie, zioła, które też rosną w Himalajach ze względu na to, że mamy podobny klimat, ale że też jeżeli chcemy pewne zioła, które rosną w Indiach, a chcielibyśmy je we własnym ogrodzie uprawić, to czasami potrzeba mieć taką mini szklarnię, w sensie czy namiot, nie wiem jak to się w tej chwili teraz to się stosuje, są takie chyba foliowe namioty, akurat na tym ja się nie znam, że może właśnie specjalny być taki właśnie szklarnia do tego potrzebna, żeby móc te zioła uprawiać, ale jest dużo ziół, które rosną gdzieś tam u podnóża Himalajów i ze względu na podobieństwo klimatu spokojnie w Polsce można je uprawiać i że on też się w swoim ogrodzie uprawia. No ale chyba po prostu trzeba przeczytać i zdobyć wiedzę, w jaki sposób, jakie warunki, jakie trzeba tym ziołom stworzyć, żeby one dobrze się rozwijały. No i też oczywiście jak najmniej chemicznych, postarać się znaleźć takie miejsce, które nie jest zanieczyszczone, że jest jak najmniej, słuchajcie, różnych chemicznych, toksycznych substancji i wtedy ono ma szansę po prostu się rozwijać.
Okay, I have an idea. A couple of years ago, I brought avocado from Madeira island and I planted. It took 6 months for the seed to germinate. And right now I have a tree 1.50 meters and really like huge leaves, beautiful. But last year, the insects started eating its very, very juicy leaves. It was a disaster. So I used Ayurvedic method. I used neem oil, and
Yeah.
they really hate it. So the tree was saved. So maybe the neem oil really works.
Yes, I know. Like I asked one of my Ayurvedic doctors, and they make a decoction from neem leaves, and they spray that decoction on the plants. So it also helps to protect the plants from like other insects.
Ty tłumaczysz.
Ja właśnie mówię, że też, słuchajcie, można zrobić wywar z nimu. Po prostu w Indiach się na przykład robi wywar z nimu i tym opryskuje się rośliny, albo Karolina mówi, że ona posmarowała swoje drzewo olejem z niemu, ale wiem, że moja koleżanka, słuchajcie, gotowała wywar z pokrzyw, że pokrzywa tak śmierdzi, też robiła nawóz naturalny z pokrzyw, żaden insekt nie przyszedł. Nic nie zjadła.
Ten olej z
No
nimu.
nie wiem, jak jest pokrzywa po angielsku, więc nie powiem.
Nettle.
Yes.
Nettle. Yeah.
Nettle. Yeah, we used to make a decoction, and also the smell is so horrible. So not only other animals or other people won't come to pick up your herbs because of the awful smell. So. Słuchajcie, jeszcze mamy czas na jedno pytanie, to może jeszcze ktoś ma jakieś pytanie. Kasiu, przepraszam cię, może jeszcze ktoś ma jeszcze jakieś pytanie? Mamy jeszcze 10 minut.
Ja przepraszam, ty smarowałaś każdy listek tym olejem, bo ja też jestem tym zainteresowana.
Nie, to jest łodygę, bo one łodygę i wtedy po łodydze zazwyczaj chodzą do liści. I ten smar, bo można to nazwać smarem, był tak gęsty, to prawdopodobnie przez miesiąc wystarczył na miesiąc. Strasznie po prostu zwiewali, łącznie z ludźmi, tak jak mówi właśnie Ela.
Aha, dobrze, dziękuję.
To co, mamy jeszcze jakieś pytanie? To Kasia, mamy jeszcze jakieś?
Ja może podzielę się bardziej, że byłam wielbicielką takich dwóch formuł firmy Pukka, Clean Greens i Vitalize, których autorem był Pan Sebastian, ale niestety już nie można ich kupić. No i ja bardzo ubolewam z tego powodu. To było w saszetkach, to było cudowne po prostu.
Kasia is saying that she is a great fan of two of your formulas, and we cannot buy them in Poland anymore. So I don't know.
Buy them anywhere anymore.
Why not?
It's a long story, but
it's a long story.
But we don't do our supplements anymore, basically.
Okay. Yeah, she said they were very good and great, and she really loved them. But they cannot be bought in Poland anymore. No.
Yeah, no, you can't get any of our supplements, unfortunately. Yeah, that's one of the things.
Yes. Słuchajcie, to jeszcze ktoś ma jakieś pytanie? Jak tam?
But you can make your own because you're all Ayurvedic practitioners. So you can go.
Yes.
In fact, lots of the ingredients we got from Poland anyway, because we had it was freeze-dried nettles, those nettles, and dandelion leaf. There are two immediately there. I mean, the other ones are more difficult because you got wheatgrass juice and spirulina, chlorella. But you could make your own with, from your garden around you. It could be a good challenge for you this spring. Just getting, because when you can harvest and dry something and use it within a few days, the quality is like on a whole other level. You can't buy that in a shop. So if you get a nice dehydrator and you pick individual nettle leaves, good meditation practice with gloves on normally, or scissors, and you dry them, and then you get some dandelion leaves. Maybe you can add some mint or something like that comes up in the spring as well from your garden. You can dry that and powder it, and then you've got a very much cheaper, probably, local thing that you can make. Obviously, you can't do it, too much. I'd really encourage you all to grow herbs or go harvesting with, get close to the plant, because all these things I learned over the years, it was really through spending time with the plants, growing in my garden, visiting farms, tasting like all the time, every day, tasting lots and lots of herbs. And so, just immerse yourself in that space, and don't I'm not saying don't do something, but some of the energetics and the principles in Ayurveda, so many rules and regulations, that a lot of the energetics is just an idea, it's like a poem or like a recipe. So just put it in the context of the person. And if you keep the diagnosis good and the dose low and the taste reasonably good, you really can't go wrong. So, go follow your heart with it and just use the simple principles that are there. They've all been learned by our ancestors, and we're lucky enough to have it passed on to us through various means. Just use that. I'm sure you're all at different levels. I'm sure you've all studied lots of Ayurveda, you're all really qualified. I always think that keeping to the simple points, I personally, although it's important, wouldn't worry about crossing the rules too much. There's lots of rules in Ayurveda. Just use the context of the person and what you're trying to achieve as the main outcomes, and I'm sure you'll be able to help lots of people.
Okej, wiesz, wam przetłumaczę, słuchajcie, bardzo pięknie Sebastian powiedział, że ważne jest jako praktyk, żeby przecież mamy tą wiedzę ajurwedyjską, tak? I że też mamy bardzo wiele ziół naszych i żeby po prostu próbować, żeby zakochać się w tych ziołach i zakochać się w robieniu tych ziołowych mieszanek, że wiele rzeczy można zrobić samemu, po prostu robić to codziennie, pić sobie zioła, kupić sobie taką suszarkę. Przecież wiele rzeczy można wypróbować z tego, co jest u nas dostępne i że w Ajurwedzie jest dużo zasad i przepisów i czasami one są bardzo restrykcyjne, ale żeby po prostu zapomnieć troszeczkę o tych restrykcjach, a włożyć w to dużo serca, próbować to na sobie małymi dawkami i jeżeli to robimy z taką dobrą intencją, sercem i z miłością, to na pewno to, słuchajcie, będzie, na pewno to będzie działało, ale żeby właśnie po prostu z taką miłością spojrzeć na te rośliny, na te mieszanki, wypróbować, co rośnie wokół nas, co jest dostępne i sprawdzać to też, samemu to pić i zobaczycie, że to jakby stosując też tą wiedzę ajurwedyjską, którą macie w tej chwili, na pewno to będzie działało. If I can share one of my experiences when I was in India and we stay in Jiva, in our institute, and which was next to the private home. And you also visited India, and people grow tulsi. And every morning, the eldest female in the house, she was watering the tulsi, she was singing mantras, and she was. And it was so beautiful, like I really love to watch her doing this. And, it really changed my, I start to understand why people worship plants. It's not the plant, it's just all that beautiful qualities which that plant can give, yes? And actually every plant has this quality. So personally, I talk to my plants. I have this very weak plant, and every day I was saying, you have to please fight, grow. So, I think you are very right. And if you look at the plants with love and the same like people, it will give you all these great qualities back. Yeah?
Oh, interesting story.
Yeah.
Nature is a good thing.
Nie, ja mówię, że wy też jak byłam w Indiach, słuchajcie, widziałam jak właśnie pani podlewała to tulsi, jakby poprzez w Indiach będąc zrozumiałam, że to nie chodzi o czczenie tej rośliny jako rośliny, tylko o tych wszystkich cudownych właściwościach, które rośliny mają i tak naprawdę każda je ma i do każdej rośliny można tak jak do człowieka podchodzić z miłością i ona po prostu odda nam to. Jasne. Słuchajcie, czy jeszcze ktoś ma jakieś pytanie? Jeszcze mamy chwileczkę. Kasia, ty miałaś jeszcze jedno pytanie? Nie? Okej, to możemy podziękować Edytko, tak? So we would like to thank you very much for your time and for the wonderful book which you created, you wrote for all, not only for Ayurvedic consultants, but for all the people. And it was a great pleasure to meet you. And we hope that all the Puka your products will be available on our market. So everyone can use that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And for everything you're doing in Poland, teaching Ayurveda, helping everybody experience the benefits. So lovely to meet you and beautiful listening to the Polish.
Yes, we strongly believe that Ayurveda is the way to heal the world, and it's such a great knowledge and so much love to people, plants, animals, to everyone. So this is what people need in this time.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks
Take
for
care, everyone.
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Dziękuję Wam wszystkim też za przybycie. Dziękuję dziewczyny.
No i
Dziękujemy.
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 Dziękujemy za spotkanie.
Miłego dnia wszystkim.
Pa,
Tak,
pa.
dziękujemy. Dzięki,
Pa.
Karolina.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you all. Good luck with everything. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.